Hey everyone, it's John from Cast and Shoot Outdoors, CnS Outdoors on Facebook and YouTube. Today we're going to visit Roger Carlson from Howling Hollow Taxidermy down in Genoa, Wisconsin. He's going to talk to us and show us what we need to do after you get that big buck down and you want to get it to a taxidermist. It's going to go through on how to get the cape off, how to do it correctly, and a lot of the do's and don'ts when you're transporting this deer, and so you're not screwing up your once-in-a-lifetime buck. And hope you enjoy and learn a little bit. Thanks for watching, and we'll get on with the video now.
Hey John, how's it going?
Good. How you doing, Roger?
Good.
All right. So again, we've come up to Howling Hollow Taxidermy. We're going to let Roger introduce himself, show you his place a little bit, and then we'll go on from there.
Well, my name's Roger Carlson. I own Howling Hollow Taxidermy in Genoa, Wisconsin. Basically, we can just take a look around and kind of see what's going on. I think we're going to be doing a caping of a white-tailed deer today and kind of show guys how to do that. And we'll be doing the other process of taking the head out and kind of continuing on like you guys would be doing out west and stuff. So hopefully we can help you out and go from there.
All right. Thanks so much, Roger. Let's see the place. Get to see he's a musician as well. Looks like he's got a little bit of drumming in his blood. Here's some of the deer he has for his customers. Different plaques on his walls. Nice little setup. Again, there's the guitar. You can see he's a musician. All right, Roger, let's get started. So you're going up the leg for what reason, Roger?
Because I need that for the form.
Okay.
You'll see that on your form, when I mount this deer, that's going to be your divisional line on the front of the brisket. And you'll see where that comes right down.
Yep.
I want to see that. So I need all the way down to this knuckle.
All right.
And he's going to do a bigger pedestal mount possibly, so I'm going to come way back in here. The sternum meets right here. That would be fine on a standard shoulder mount to come across, but I want to kind of come back about another 8 inches or so.
Okay, so he did not, when you're cleaning your deer in your field, he didn't go up too far, did he?
It's fine, because even I have guys that come way up into here. I can still sew that. It's fine.
Okay.
I mean, if you can just go to the ribs where the sternum meets right here, that's fine. I mean, some guys will split that rib cage too. You see so many different things.
Okay, well, that's the reason why we want our people to understand when they're out in the field, they get a big buck that they want to get mounted. It's the proper way to take care of these things. So I'm giving you the first-hand knowledge here of how to cape out your deer or skin your deer,
And
I
this
should
is
say.
something that I don't do here, just because it's super busy at this time of year. But we're gonna do it for this one, just to kind of, because everybody asks questions all the time about how to do this.
That's perfect. Appreciate you doing this for us, Roger. I guess we should have started this out. Since you're doing that part of it, whose deer is this? And if you'd introduce yourself.
My name is Reed Peters, Vernon County here. Shot this buck last night at my dad's property right before dark. So shot a buck out of that stand last year, so feeling like the hot stand.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for allowing us to do this with your
thank you
deer.
guys.
And then, like we were talking about earlier too, with processors, some processors don't want people to cape their deer before they bring them in. Some do. So if you're new using a processor you never used before, please call them ahead and make sure this is okay to do.
So is there a particular knife you like to use instead of just the old standard hunting knife? I mean, it'll work, but I mean, skinning, you see skinning knives, you see all kinds of different.
99% of my stuff that I do is with a scalpel. I've just had this knife forever. It just feels comfortable, and I kind of use a knife different than a lot of people do anyways. So.
I noticed how you're holding it.
Yeah.
It's definitely different.
It's a lot more about feel.
Sure. That looks like it's an old boning knife or fillet knife.
Yeah, it's kind of a modified. But when you're cutting like this, you can't feel. Like if you're gonna cut something, where if I'm like this, I can feel. It's really strange. I can feel the difference.
Sure. Well, this is all good. This will help a lot of people in understanding how to keep out a deer, proper field care as far as your caping is going. So we'll kind of get into the do's and don'ts of transporting deer in a little bit here, but for right now, this is definitely what we want to see, is how to keep this out if you're doing it yourself.
And yeah, I used to do a lot of this, but the time is so limited now. A lot of people hang them up to do this, which is fine, so you can kind of let gravity work for you. I've done so many of them out of the back of the truck and on the ground. It's really not that big of a deal anymore.
Yeah, so, most people are going to hang their deer and try to do it.
Yeah,
I know that.
If you hang your deer too, that's another good point we're going to go over as far as the neck. As far as dragging a deer out by its neck and hanging it by its neck, you're breaking hairs when you do that. So you're going to see a rope mark across it, and we can tell because there'll be a slight hematoma or contusion underneath the skin where you can actually see the rope line, and sometimes that hair will actually slip. So.
And that's not a good thing to have it slip, I would assume,
No.
for a taxidermist.
No, and through the brisket area too, you see a lot of guys they'll keep their deer and then throw them on the ground in a big pile.
So yeah, so I'm going to go back here. I want you to see this cut, everyone, how he did that. Again, he went up the leg and off to the side, and actually around the back, as you can see.
Or they can bring in the whole hide too. That's fine.
Yep.
You don't have to cut it around.
Mm-hmm.
You can just bring the whole hide in, and
which is probably easier for you.
yeah, because then I can just cut it where I need it. And
right, but for general purposes, this is where the cuts are, and
yeah,
we wanted to, let people know not to go too far up the brisket or up the neck.
try to keep the hair off that meat for you.
Never slice the neck.
Oh God, no.
Never slice the neck. But I'm sure you see that a lot.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So you got a deer you're not going to get a mount for. Go ahead and slice the neck. But if you
another
got
thing
one
too, if you get a bigger buck, 3.5 years and older, you're just gonna do a euro on it or something like that. Thank God that knife's not too sharp. Go ahead and, because a lot of us taxidermists are always looking for good capes. Just because capes do get ruined sometimes, and so we're always looking to buy capes too.
Well, that's good to know for people out there as well. Thank you. So I know, looking at this, it's a heck of a nice buck you got there. Real nice buck. One thing I always hear from people, how old do you think it is? Well, the hardest thing to do is judge a deer by age. The only way they can truly do it is by the teeth.
Yeah, you cut that bottom jaw off.
Yep.
The other thing too is like we were just talking, if a deer is in a place where there's a lot of soft mass, them teeth are going to wear a lot different than if they're in a spot with a bunch of hard mass.
Yep. And when he means mass, he means the food, the type of food they're eating. Deer generally eat, now where I'm up at, I'm in the forest zone, so the deer up there are constantly chewing on twigs and that type of vegetation. We don't have a lot of cornfields, agricultural fields up there, so that's what he means by the mass. So this deer, Where are you going to take this to?
St. Joe's.
St. Joe's Ridge.
Yep.
Okay. Kyle and the boys and girls up there do a fantastic job.
Yeah, they do.
So we'll give Kyle a little shout out there for St. Joe's and Tim.
Yeah, Tim and Kyle, they do some great
Yep.
work.
They do.
Send everybody up there I can.
Yep, they do custom meat work and
there's other great ones too if you're in the Holman area. You know, they got
Yep.
Mark out there is a great guy. Mark does a lot of deer out there.
sure.
A few others around. Just, it's like anything else though too, kind of look into that because there's a lot of pop-up butchers that show up.
Mm-hmm.
And it happens every year.
So now we're getting to the neck because I know this is always a problem for a lot of people.
Yeah, this is where everybody kind of struggles.
So is there any kind of a tip that you want to say? Because when people skin this, the biggest thing that I know they do is they always end up cutting the hide.
Right, because they're not kind of watching, and this right here will get you in trouble.
Okay.
Because if you're poking in, you got a super sharp point. The point of my knife is kind of rounded. It's not like a point like a fillet knife, so that I can kind of get away with a little bit of stuff. So I mean, I'm trying to cut in, and it won't let me. See how it does that?
Yep.
But the pressure too. I mean, and a dull knife will cut more things and mess up more things than a sharp knife ever will.
Yeah. That's because you're pushing so much harder on them.
There's a lot of pressure on it. So I'm just barely touching anything and pulling at the same time to get the sinew to come. A lot of these older bucks too, you're gonna have we'll show you as we get closer, you're gonna have a lot of that stringy type stuff going on, and it's harder to get that away. But if you can pull it out like so, you can see that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then what we're gonna do here is I'm just gonna work down as far as I can on this side. I'm gonna flip it over again.
Okay.
It's about as podunk as we can get on the back of the tailgate, but
Sure.
see how it's starting to get kind of weird in there, and that's when it starts to make people nervous. I've had some guys come in, they'll cut the neck off right here, and that's fine. Whatever you're comfortable with, it's fine. I mean, it's,
Okay.
we're not too worried about it. I'll cut it out. I'm gonna flip this over again too. I don't want to hit your throat. Get this.
Out of the way.
We'll be back and forth quite a few times just to kind of work
Sure.
things down.
Sure.
And my knife is starting to die. I can feel it. But like I said, most of my stuff is done with a scalpel, so.
So when we'll get kind of back to this transporting of a deer. A lot of people will tie the rope around the neck. That's a no-no.
Right.
I mean, if you got a big buck, tie it to the antlers. Is that what you would suggest?
Well, yeah. That's kind of a stronger point, but the main thing is to kind of, when you're dragging a deer, this right here is laying on the ground.
The shoulders, yep.
Yeah, I mean, this shoulder mount is going to show right through here. So
Okay.
when you're dragging this on the ground, you're taking this hair off from here,
Sure.
and that's
Burning the hair off, pulling it off, yep.
Yeah, winter's kind of nice. I mean, you can get away with a little more, but we just kind of try to be conscious of that.
Sure. So if you're a guy that hunts public land, probably one of the best things to do is to take a sled, even a child sled that, will go downhill during the fun time of the winter. Put that deer in there and it'll help you, number one, to get it going. The only bad part is if you got a lot of saplings, it's going to be flopping around on you. But that's something that'll help you if you get a big buck. If you got the UTVs and you're allowed to do that on private land, well, put it up so you're not hitting the shoulder area, the head area where it's running into the wheels. I've seen that happen with guys. So,
But I'm going to separate this deer right at the back of the skull because I absolutely hate sewing. So I just want to do a little cut and then a little Y down or a little T down. So I only have a 4-inch and a 4-inch thing to sew. And then, like I said, it starts getting really weird through here. You can see how that's starting to build.
well, here's a question for you.
Yeah.
This is the rut. The necks are always starting to swell.
Yep.
Does that make it harder?
You can
Or-
see the trend. If you've skinned a deer in early fall, it's going to skin like it does back here. And for some reason, when they start to get a little built up, it gets super stringy in here.
Okay.
And you can see that.
I know when I've had mine, and I do all my own skinning, and I've had you know, someone help me earlier, and that's why I'm doing this video, is to help others.
That's the back of the jaw right there. I can actually probably cut that. You can see it. So that's the back of the jaw.
Okay.
What I'm looking for is that big. There's like a big bone that sits right here, and that kind of slides around in the neck.
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking to cut right in front of that, and then we're basically going to separate the head right from the hide, or from the body. I mean.
Mm-hmm.
So that's that big bone right there.
Perfect.
So we're going to roll this over one more time.
All right. Let you get in there.
All right. Just give you a little slack there.
Oh, this is so awesome. It couldn't have worked out
it's
better.
just
It
perfect.
could not.
Yeah, you guys sure help.
Got to meet the new neighbor, and
Yep. Yep.
Meant to be.
Yes, it was. We were going to be doing this on. We were going to do all this on Chuck the Buck, who was kind of in pieces here, but luckily for Chuck, we didn't have to skin him. So.
okay. So, back of the jaw's right there.
Okay.
And there's that big bone right there. You can feel that.
Okay. Yep.
So then I'm going to start making my cuts in. So this is the back of the skull right here. Like I said, if you don't want to go this far, you can cut anywhere up in here. It's fine.
Okay.
So there's a little thing in there. I like to get my knife in and kind of wiggle it around and kind of disjoint it. Okay. I'm going to go over one more time.
Okay.
We're going to cut the back side of that one. Ready? I know it's a lot of back and forth, but
Worth it.
you ain't gotta,
Worth it when it's done.
you ain't gotta stand.
Now, I have seen guys take an actual taxidermist, and he did the same thing with the leg as you did, but then he came up along the spine and cut it up to the back of the base of the head.
Yeah, but who wants to sew that?
Again, that's why we're doing this, because you know there's different ways to do it, but
Right, and the guys out west do that a lot of times too, because they're gonna have to take the skull and bust it open and get the brains out. But if we can avoid a stitch, it just makes for a better mount in the end.
sure.
So you know that right there is the back of the head. See how that white thing right there is? Everybody will recognize that.
Yep.
So that's right at the back of the skull.
All right.
I think we got everything cut pretty clean. Sometimes it comes off real easy, sometimes it's a pain in the butt, but I'll have you hold these legs here.
Sure.
And then the windpipe, we'll have to cut that.
All right. Well, thanks so much, guys, for allowing us to see this.
Yeah,
This was great.
So then now all I have to do is make a little cut here and then cut it to right here. And that's all I have to sew.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, again, congratulations
Yeah,
on
thanks-
that
thanks
buck.
a lot. Appreciate
You
it.
bet. Roger, thanks so much for doing this and showing us. You know, this is awesome. So
I'll go do some paperwork. And
Well, I hope you enjoyed that video, learned a little bit, as we did in the process. Want to thank Roger Carlson again from Howling Hollow Taxidermy. Remember to like us on Facebook and give us the old thumbs up. And when you're on YouTube, please subscribe. It always helps us. So once again, join us here for our next video, Cast and Shoot Outdoors.